Morning YouTube hikers, Ray from Hike-ALOT. Have you ever gotten surprised by the weather while you're out on the trail? This morning, go through and try to give you some quick techniques to hopefully mitigate the number of those surprises that pop up for you out there. Keep in mind, these are not replacements for Doppler and the weather forecast. You need to be looking at all of that stuff, but we are, from time to time, we're out on the trail and we don't have access to a signal to even check those things, and these are just hopefully some tools to help keep you alert and prepared. So let's jump in. Okay, so we're going to spend a good bit of time right now talking about clouds. Do not get sucked into the names. I'm going to use the names, but I use those just in case you want to look them up. I'm going to be giving you pictures of each one of them just so you can kind of get familiar with them. But if you start to recognize the clouds more so than the names, that's what I typically focus on. So clouds are all kind of broken out into really four categories. You've got high-level clouds, you've got medium-level clouds, low-level clouds, and then you've got a fourth one that's sort of an outlier that's clouds with vertical growth, and we'll talk about each one of those in sections. But we'll start with the high stuff and we'll work our way down. Generally speaking, if the sky is cloudy and you can see through the clouds to actually see the sun or the moon, normally you're dealing with high-level clouds at that point. So we've got three main categories of high-level clouds, and we'll jump through these real fast. Okay, so the first one's going to be a cirrus cloud, and it looks like this. These are these high white wispy clouds. And typically these mean good weather, but it is also a sign of a pressure change coming in the next 24 hours. And if you pay attention to the pointy ends on it and the direction it's moving, obviously it's going to tell you which direction the front's coming from. Okay, so next up are the cirrostratus clouds, and they look like this. These are going to cover the entire sky, and it's a sign of wet weather coming in the next 24 hours. And you'll notice some of these clouds look very similar, so definitely have to be discerning about these. So the third high-level cloud is the cirrocumulus clouds, and it looks like this. This is that high blanket of white puffy clouds, and typically in streaks. When you see these, you can pretty much expect fair weather at least for the immediate future. Now next up are these medium level clouds, and if you see these, especially if they're dark, just go ahead and expect rain at this point. We've got those broken up into two categories, and the first one is going to be the altostratus cloud, and it looks like this. These altostratuses, they're going to be that gray, blue, and it's more of a blanket across the sky. When you see this, storms are in the near future. It's just a matter of time at that point before they get there. And that second medium level cloud is the altocumulus cloud, and it looks like this. And this is going to be that gray patchy blanket, and if you see this in the morning, you can pretty much expect afternoon storms, or if you see it late in the day, it may be nighttime storms, but it's on the way. Okay, so next, moving into the low level clouds, first up on the docket is the stratus clouds, and they look like this. These are going to be those low solid clouds. They can bring drizzle with them. This is more similar to like an elevated fog. So if you've got these out there, it's going to be misty and drizzly for the most part, but predominantly misty, but it can bring drizzle with it. Next up, we've got the stratocumulus clouds, and they're going to look like this. There's going to be low bumping patches in gray with like the white outside edges. Typically these don't bring rain. They kind of get mistaken for rain clouds from time to time just because they have that dark kind of gray appearance to them, but these are typically just going to blow through and you don't really have to worry too much about them. Generally speaking, the large gray flat sheets of clouds that you see coming, that's typically going to bring rain though. That fourth grouping now that we have to deal with, that's going to be the clouds with vertical growth, and this is typically made up of your cumulus clouds, which look like this. These are going to be these sort of big white puffy clouds, but what you're looking for is a sign of upward, that vertical growth, and that will look like this. And if you see that's a sign that violent storms are potentially on the way. That's typically your bad weather stuff. So if you're getting that vertical growth, now we're talking tornadoes, things like that. So obviously with tornadoes you're looking for rotation as well, but that vertical growth is usually a good sign that violent weather, it's on the way. Okay, so some basic blocking tackling. Obviously if the clouds are moving real fast, a storm front's coming in really quickly. If the clouds are moving out of the north, it's typically a cold front coming in, and if the clouds are coming out of the south, it's normally a warm front pushing through. And obviously these are all specific to the northern hemisphere. Early morning dew on the grass is usually a good sign that the weather is going to be fair during the day. That's a good sort of quick indicator. Another one is if you see birds flying really high in the sky, that's normally a high pressure front, which is typically going to accompany a fair weather day. And if the birds start flying lower, that's a low pressure front, so there's storms coming in, so typically they're going to trying to be getting out of the way pretty quickly. Birds will also kind of cluster together if the weather's going to be bad during the day. If they're just sort of uncommonly clumped together, that's usually a good sign too with the birds. So another trick is if you can go outside at night and you can see that the sky is cloudy, normally that's going to be an indicator of a slightly warmer day the next day, because those clouds are going to help hold some of the heat from the day into the atmosphere and not let it disperse. Okay, and another quick trick that I like to use, and this is probably the one that I use more often than not, again, this is Northern Hemisphere, stand with your back to whichever direction the prevailing wind is coming from, put it to your back, look up in the sky. If the clouds are moving directly out in front of you, directly towards you, or they're sitting stationary, you can expect the weather to remain pretty much like it has been currently. It's not going to change significantly over the immediate future. If you look up and the clouds are moving from the right to the left, that's usually a sign that fairer weather is pushing in. But if they're moving from your left to your right, then that's a sign that bad weather is moving in. So it's a good quick tip. Okay guys, hopefully you found that beneficial. Obviously none of these are you going to notice if you're not taking the time to stop, be present, and look up at the sky just to see what's going on. And I know sometimes when you're in the woods that's harder to do than at other times, but do try to make those efforts and stay alert, stay present, not to just the trail in front of you, but then also what's going on above you and around you. So pay attention to, did the wind shift? Did the temps all of a sudden cool off? Is that thunder I hear in the distance, or is that a train going by? So just be present. And if you enjoyed this content, give it a thumbs up or subscribe if you haven't done it so far. And as always, if you're out on the trail right now, just remember, left foot, right foot, repeat. We'll see you out there soon.